access the podcast of OA. Located deep within Sector 14845 and powered by the Emerald Light of Will, the podcast of OA is your guide to the Green Lantern universe. Hosted by Lantern Myron Rumsey, the podcast of OA begins now.
Merry Christmas, Green Lantern fans. This is episode number 254 of the podcast of OA. I am your co-host, Myron Rumsey, joined by my very merry friend on the other end, Mr. Phil Bova. Phil, you've got that Christmas spirit, that's for sure.
I do. It's been a great month. I've been digging it, man. Just decorating the house. Upstairs just looks crazy. It just looks like Christmas threw up everywhere. And it's funny because, I've been out in public a lot and there's not a lot of festive people out. This is what has been my everyday kind of attire. I've been changing up the hats every day because we got a bunch of these, and I found out my earring holes were still open, so I said, why not? But I haven't seen a lot of people out that's been really, really dressed festively. But whatever, I'm in the spirit. Ho ho ho!
I'm the exact opposite this year. I was just telling you off mic that I don't even have my tree decorated yet, and here it is, the 23rd of December. Oh, you got the eggnog going too. There you go.
I do. It's a special eggnog.
Oh, you got the special.
Daddy's eggnog is what.
Daddy's the eggnog. Yeah, that's good. That's good. No, this year just been an odd year for my family when it comes to the holidays. None of us have really been in the spirit. Usually, if one of us is and the other one isn't, we kind of lift each other up. But this year, my wife nor my son nor myself have really been feeling it. So I don't know. Like I said, we're going to decorate the tree tomorrow because otherwise, why bother, right?
Well, to be quite fair, you're always in the spirit because you're always green, right? So
there we go. There we go.
'Tis the season. Doesn't matter how you do it, you're still tizzing it. So
that's right. That's right. Excited to do a third episode for December. I am going to, no matter what happens, going to have this episode out before the 31st of December. That's for sure. So this is a bonus content because it's been a while since we've done 3 episodes in a month. Sometimes we're lucky to get 1 episode a month. So it's great.
It's fun. Yeah, it's fun. It's the day before Christmas Eve. We tried to do it the other night, but this is even better. You got this night, and tomorrow night Santa's going to be here, or me,
or you. Right.
So the other day, my last day of work was oh gosh, what is today? I'm losing track of time. Monday, right? So my last day of work was Friday, and I went over to, I don't know, the kids were there half day, so it was just a regular screw off day for everybody. All the teachers, everybody just.
You're watching videos to that day, right?
Yeah, watching movies. So I went over to a coffee place, which is close to my school. I was sitting there, and this little kid kept walking by saying, "Ho ho ho, ho ho ho," and he's probably like 3, just waddling by, "Ho ho ho." Then another kid came over, "Hey Santa." And then they both were just circling me the whole time.
Suddenly you realized you were like doing a scene for the new movie of this new sequel of Santa Claus, right?
I know. I should have just ran down the street. "Merry Christmas, Shaw's Coffee." Shaw's Coffee, if you're listening, I always love you guys. You guys are great people.
Too funny.
Yeah.
So for this year-end episode, we're going to talk about Green Lantern number 18 and the all-new Green Lantern Green Arrow World's Finest Special number 1.
Man, I got a kick out of that read. I just had so much fun reading that.
Yep. Very nostalgia filled.
Yeah, it really did. It just felt like their camaraderie again. And their banter, which is great, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah, we'll get into it definitely. Before we do, we always do Green Lantern news. It's been, just a couple weeks since we recorded. So the only real news we've had, let's see, there's a new Hal Jordan Funko Pop that's coming out, which is Hal standing there with a little word balloon. I think it says "In Brightest Day" on it. Which is pretty cool. And then off the panel, the big news, the Superman trailer released, the teaser trailer, I shouldn't say trailer, teaser trailer. And it featured about 2.5 to 4 seconds of Guy Gardner. So we get our first look at Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner.
It's taking a lot of riffs, man. The people ain't letting up about that. And I get it. I get it. I really do. I understand where their beef is coming from. But number one, it's not the finished product yet. So, maybe take that with a grain of salt. Number two, it isn't about him anyway. And I know we're not, I know we're on a Green Lantern podcast because that trailer blew my mind. I mean, it just touched me in so many ways. And it still gives me goosebumps listening to that track, and I haven't even seen the bulk of what's going on. And we're never going to know what the heck is going on. But I will say, I didn't have a problem with the way Nathan Fillion looked. I thought he looked goofy, but I always figured Guy to look kind of, he's the oddball goof, and that might be what he might be, that type of character that he's aiming for in this kind of movie.
I loved the guitar riff version of the John Williams score for
Mhm.
Superman. That was awesome to me. I love that.
Yeah,
I walked away with it with a sense of hope. There were a couple things I'm like, the kaiju thing is crazy. I
yeah,
think the problem with the Guy Gardner thing and where all the memes come from is if you're trying to get a still photo
yeah.
of Guy Gardner from the trailer to use for anything, good luck, because there's no way to get a good one because it doesn't appear long enough. And no matter
No,
where you pause it, he's got a goofy look on his face. And
yeah,
I totally get it, right? From that perspective. And the lighting, the way it is with him shooting his ring, it almost looks like he has blonde hair and not orange hair. So I think those are a couple of the things that throw it off. What I'm trying to figure out is obviously this is at Stag Industries and he shoots. Guy Gardner walks in and shoots a ring blast at the window where there are civilians on the other side. So I'm trying to figure out, well, he's not shooting at them. Is he just trying to startle them? Or was he trying to put up like a shield so they can't see in anymore? I'm
that's
not
kind of
really
what I was
sure.
thinking. I was thinking that whatever Superman was doing at the point of whatever he was standing in there hunched over, I figured because he's already beat up at that point.
Yeah, yeah.
So I kind of figured maybe he's putting it up as a shield, maybe a block, maybe
Like
whoever he's fighting, which is theorized is the
I
Ultraman.
would have done like a set of window blinds, you know,
Yeah.
and made them closed if you're going for a
Or a
construct. And
vault door, like a
yeah, yeah,
vault
or
door would be
something.
cool.
And you don't get the sense that it's a construct. It looks like he's just shooting a laser blast. So it's hard to tell what he's doing there, other than shooting a ring blast at the window. And it's not finished, so who knows what it's really going to look like when we see it. But I think that the gist of the problem is the look on Nathan Fillion's face, the smirk. There's no way to get a still frame of that and have it look good. So
No,
it's
man.
it's meme fodder at that point, right?
And
And
he does look goofy, don't get me wrong, but I
yeah,
don't know, man. I just think
he's smirking when he does it, right? But I
I
also
think
get the point of it's a smirking 53-year-old Guy Gardner with a bowl cut. That does not add up to an epic first image, right?
no, but it depends. I mean, I don't know. The problem I have with early stuff like that is, that's where people start latching onto, right?
Sure, sure. It's the
And here
first
it
impression,
is.
right? You
Yeah,
can't create a second first impression.
is it. And it's over with for that now, right?
Hmm.
So one or two things have to happen. Gunn has to recognize that's the feedback he's getting, and he adjusts and maybe does something later. I don't know. Or you just run with it. Because here's the thing, the cat's already out of the bag, right? You
Right,
can't take back what's already been done.
right. You can't get
Do,
that toothpaste back in the tube.
no. Do I like the way he looked? I mean, I don't know. I didn't have a big problem with it. I'm not latching onto that like some people do. And I'm not
Right.
trying to knock people that decide they want to latch onto that. I have a big problem with the nitpicking stuff, like Superman shouldn't have red trunks. Oh, Superman should have red trunks. That's the kind of, and it's like, oh, and I'm glad that they chose to go with that in this, and I'm glad that Corn Sweat had his input in that. But the Green Lantern thing was fine with me. I think it's supposed to be this quirky, goofy Guy Gardner character. I mean, I think that might be what Gunn's aim is with it. I mean, there was somebody posted something from a Neil Adams quote about, and actually it wasn't about Guy Gardner, it was actually about John Stewart, but that kind of hit the nail on the head with how they're going to pivot this to go towards the Lantern film, right? Or the Lantern series or whatnot. Because what I heard is Guy Gardner is supposed to appear
Right, right. Yeah,
in
that
them.
we heard that early on is that Guy Gardner was going to appear in the Lantern show.
Right.
Here's where I can look at it a couple of different ways. This is a major movie which is going to have a much wider audience than the
Hmm.
Lantern show is going to have.
Right.
So this is the impression of Green Lantern you're going to have for the bulk of the non-Green Lantern fan population.
Yeah.
And so is it the impression you want people to have about a franchise you love? I'm not sure about that. Uh James Gunn has his favorite actors that he likes to work with. So the reason why he cast Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner was because he wanted to make Nathan Fillion have a bowl cut. Um, I don't know if that's how I would make casting choices, but whatever. Uh, I think Nathan Fillion can pull off Guy Gardner. I think he'd been better off pulling off Guy Gardner about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But that's
That I
that,
will agree with.
that's my and we've beat this horse to death. That's my problem with the new DC approach to the Lanterns. And so as someone who's somewhat protective of the franchise, I totally get it. Do I want Green Lantern from being the butt of the joke in the Deadpool movies to being the butt of the joke in the Superman movies? Does Green Lantern become a joke to everybody? And
And
I
that's a fair
certainly don't want
point
that.
because that's a fair point because this could very well turn into that. I mean, it's
Right,
still a damn joke, right? Sonic 3 had some kind of blowback to Green Lantern. They still can't let that crap go.
right. It's like
My
it's
God.
been how many years? And Lanterns isn't going to have, regardless of what anybody thinks, Lanterns is not going to have as wide of an appeal, or I shouldn't say a wide of appeal. It's not going to have as long of a reach to the general population as the Superman movie is going to have.
Sure.
Uh, Regardless what because there aren't that many subscribers. I shouldn't say there aren't that many. There aren't as many subscribers to Max as there are to the people who saw that trailer and who are people who are going to go see this movie.
Yeah, I
Because
heard.
the reaction I had, I was watching it at work the day it came out. I was texting each other. You had seen it. I was stuck in a freaking meeting and couldn't watch it. And when the meeting
I
got
had already watched it like 10 times by
right,
then.
so I pulled it up at the end of my meeting because I was meeting with a couple people on this drone soccer program I'm working on. And I pulled it up and we all watched it together. And the woman that I was in the meeting with, she doesn't get into the superheroes, doesn't none of that stuff. As soon as she saw crypto, she was interested in the movie.
Mm.
So this is going to draw people in. My wife was the same way. As soon as she saw crypto, she's like, "Oh, we're going to the theater to see it." Crypto's crypto's bringing the juice to this movie for a lot of people.
Well, and I mentioned this to somebody the other day. I was like, think about that from a standpoint from a film producer, right? That's a I mean, Rocket Raccoon did the same thing for the
Right.
franchise of Guardians of the Galaxy. So why not do that with this particular movie?
Mhm.
As long as he doesn't make him a joke, and I don't think that
I
he
don't think he
will.
will. I don't think he will. I think that regardless of my opinion of James Gunn and his reverence for Green Lantern material, he has a high reverence for the Superman material.
Mm.
And so I think he's approaching it differently. And there were a lot of things to like about that trailer. Um, but I can see why the memes are coming about Green Lantern because he does look like Uncle Fester. In that, the way the look is on his face. It's hard to not see that when you're trying to show what does Green Lantern look like in this movie, and this is all you got.
Well, but I will say this. You could pull up about 100 different photos of Guy Gardner's face in comic books, and he has just as goofy, if not
Sure,
worse, that
sure,
you could respond to in those. And
sure.
there was a couple I did send that to. I'm like, it's not any different than an artist's interpretation from a comic book made in the
Right.
80s.
And
You
it's a
know,
still frame from a movie. It isn't, he's not going to be like looking like that in every single
right,
shot. This is
right.
just the only shot we have. As someone who is protective of the Green Lantern universe, I do feel somewhat nervous about Guy Gardner being nothing more than the punchline of a joke. I I don't think that's going to be the case.
I think he's going to have some, I think he's going to be pretty serious in there. I'm pretty sure that the storyline that they're going to use to set this up, it's going to have a serious tone to it, but he's going to add the element of levity to it, and not make it as serious and dark like Snyder did in his films. I mean, it's different when you have a dark film and you have comedic moments than when you have a light film with moments of levity. I mean, it's a huge difference. I mean, and I think that's what Gunn's approach is towards Superman.
Gunn has this thing about taking characters that are quirky or the punchline of a joke or
Right,
are kind of monstery type characters. I mean, look at Creature Commandos.
right.
There are characters that he will do something where, yeah, they're humorous and funny, but they'll make you care about that character, and there'll be much more to that character. I don't know how I feel about Creature Commandos yet. I've watched all the episodes so far, and I keep go swinging back and forth like a pendulum on my opinion about it. But when you look at like what he did with the Bride and what he did with what's
GI
the
Robot.
GI Robot, each one of those stories, and the most recent one with the Weasel, made you care about those characters,
Hmm.
even though they're quirky and over the top funny at other points of the show. So I expect the same kind of treatment for Guy Gardner. I think, yeah, you're going to get some, boy, what an ass moments. You're going to get a lot of that for a while, but there's going to be a moment for Guy Gardner that's going to make people think differently about him. Cross my ring fingers. Um, I truly do believe that though. If not, I think it hurts the Lanterns TV show because people are going to expect that when they go to watch it.
Sure.
So we'll see.
But I'm going
Well,
to say this before when we enough about the Superman trailer, and this is the last thing I'm going to say. When I watched it, the thing that hit me the most was it felt like a Christopher Reeve type movie. You know what I mean? It felt like, okay, we're continuing what Christopher Reeves wasn't able to continue. I don't know. This Corn Sweat really, really strikes me as a Reeves archetype. You know, he just, I mean, just the way he looked, and just anyway, I'm
I
all
thought it
in.
was I thought it was good as a teaser trailer. I think when we actually get to see a real trailer,
Hmm.
a full-fledged trailer, we'll know a lot more. I mean, right now we are projecting what we our impressions onto it. And I think once we see an actual trailer, we'll really have a better idea. But just seeing Superman fight a kaiju, I mean, come on.
Right. But I do want a crypto plush doll. So, Gun, if you're listening, I need some marketing here.
There
I could
there's
have bought it for Christmas.
there's got to be a crypto plush in our future somewhere.
I
There
mean,
has to be.
Build-A-Bear. You can do a Build-A-Bear thing because
Build a
I'm
dog.
big into Build-A-Bear. I just love it. Anyway. All right, let's move on to Lantern talk.
That's right. That's right. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back and we're going to jump into Green Lantern number 18.
In brightest day or blackest night, there's only one place to listen to the best in Green Lantern. That's the podcast of Oa.
Fellow Lanterns, welcome back. We're going to talk about Green Lantern number 18. Uh, I After I read this issue, I went back and I reread everything from the Adams run, and I ended up feeling like one of the criticisms that this run has had, and it's criticism I laid on it too when we were recording with the Lantern Cast, was I felt like we never had an arc finish.
Right.
And when I reread it all, I started thinking, Adams comes into this through the TV realm. I really felt like this was the end of a season. Like if he wrote the comic series like a television series, I
Hmm.
felt like this was the season ender. There were a lot of little plots that were wrapped up. There was still a lot left going, and then there were some that were started again, started new ones that were started, and
Sure.
that's how I ended up thinking about it. And then I started thinking about, I know if I were the writer of Green Lantern who followed the Jeff Thorne run, I'd have just ignored all of it and started doing my own thing.
Sure.
But Philip Kennedy Johnson and Jeremy Adams are much more professional about it than I would be. Uh, and I think they looked at, well, here's where this universe is right now. Here's where I want it to go, and I'm going to craft the stories that make it make sense for readers so that they don't question, well, what happened to this and what happened to that. Now, we didn't get detail as to how Simon Baz got his ring back because of where Thorne left him. I think they kind of cherry picked some of the things and moved forward with it. But by the time this issue's over with, we get the Guardians back that were gone during the Thorne run.
Hmm.
Yet we don't know what's different about them. The source battery is gone, which was something we all thought was like, the heck's this? That's all gone. And if you look at it, all of the Green Lanterns, all of the Earth Lanterns are essentially reset to a new status quo that's either where they were before the Thorn run or slightly modified afterwards, but not to the extent that Thorn did. So I think like this was the season that got us from the Thorn run to where Adams wants to go, and this sets the stage for where he wants to go.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I could be completely wrong, right? But that's just the feeling I got when I read it.
But
Uh,
again, it's not about you being completely wrong either. It's about an interpretation of what you're reading to what you're projecting that you think the writer is going to take you. You
right,
know,
right.
and there's nothing wrong with hypothesis or for drawing out your own theories on where the reader's going to go. I mean, I've said it since day one. Kilowog's not dead, and here he is. He's showing up everywhere. He's alive and well.
I felt like most of the lanterns got good moments to shine. Most of the Earth
Mhm.
lanterns got some good moments to shine. I thought that Theros and Veron, for all of the threat that they posed, maybe that's the lowest part of the weakest part of the story because they really didn't, even though they had the power to put the Green Lanterns back on their heels, they got so wrapped up into fighting each other that it allowed the Green Lanterns to just push them off into another dimension and kind of, dust their hands of it all.
Right.
If there's a weak point to be found.
Sure. Cool point. I like the part with Jessica and Kilowog.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, I thought it was a good point. It was a good scene for Jessica to help pull Kilowog out of that. Seeing Kyle as a White Lantern, which I think is Kyle Rayner's first best destiny, is to be a White Lantern. I think that's really what that character needs
I mean, I
and
think
needs
if you
to
take a
stick.
consensus of Kyle Rayner fans, they probably 80 to 90% of them would say they want him as a White Lantern. I mean, he seems like the harbinger of the white more than he is anything else.
Right. I
So,
mean, you had a whole run of New Guardians where he learns to master all the emotions. You can't walk that back.
and
And
I think that's underappreciated. I thought that was a
yeah,
great run. I thought it developed a lot in a lot of different ways, and I thought it was cool.
I mean, I mean, he wasn't the first person to wear a White Lantern ring, but like when you look at Sinestro, I think if I'm trying to remember, Sinestro, I think wielded it for like 30 seconds.
That was
Uh,
in Brightest Day, wasn't it?
it
Never
was
mind.
in Blackest Night, where at
Brightest
the
Night.
near the end of that, and then
Right.
Hal was able to wield it to get through Blackest Night. Hal, I think, wielded the White Lantern ring through sheer force of will. I realize that's not how the White Lantern ring works, but I think that's what he was able to do. Is he was able to force himself into wearing the White Lantern ring and using it effectively for what he needed it for the moment. But once that happened, he couldn't hold on to it. And I think Hal's journey, allowing him to go through that process, that character's been set up to be the White Lantern. He just should be it
Uh-huh.
because otherwise he has the same problem that Jessica Cruz has, that Simon Baz has, that Joe Mullane has now, is that if they're not, if he's not a White Lantern, he's just another Green Lantern.
Well, and then you just get underdeveloped, you know?
Right, right. There's nothing. They're not going to go back and do the hero's journey with him again. He's already gone through that road. So
Mhm.
what do you do with him now? Just like with Jessica Cruz, how much time did they spend focusing on her anxiety issues and all that stuff? But now you hardly ever see it other than a word balloon or a thought about, well, I've done this, but there's no more growth for the character.
Mhm.
And they probably run into some things like look at Joe Mullane. By the time this story's over with, her special ring isn't, she doesn't have a special ring anymore. What sets her apart from any other Green Lantern that's out there? Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
So what do you do with these characters? They become background characters. And Kyle, I mean, we all know I'm not a huge Kyle Rayner fan, but more than any other Green Lantern not named Hal Jordan, that character deserves to have a special role because he's actually earned it. So I think him being the White Lantern makes all kinds of sense. I
Mhm.
think he should have his own book as a White Lantern and do something with the character. Or not. Make him a White Lantern backup in the Green Lantern book or do something with him in that role because making him just yet another Green Lantern, I,
Or
I
or
think
they
it's
could
not
start a new book called The Fractal Lanterns. And you could
the
be the
the
lead.
fractal lantern. Who knows? I also loved in this issue what we see with Carol Ferris and her confrontation with the Predator
Hmm.
because that is so long overdue. There are probably readers out there who didn't read Green Lantern back during the Action Comics weekly stuff. But for those that don't know, the Predator at one time came back and really merged with Carol Ferris and really took her down a dark path. And she killed John Stewart's wife, Kat Matui, who was the Green Lantern who took over for Sinestro when Sinestro got his comeuppance.
Right.
And there's never really been a whole lot of accounting for any of that stuff. So I loved the fact that she got a moment to confront the Predator. And it was interesting. Her speech in this was very reminiscent of what Carol Ferris says to Aya in Green Lantern the animated series, and when Aya is merged with she takes over the body of the Anti-Monitor, and she's going
Mhm.
on her anti-emotion crusade. There's an episode called Love is a Battlefield where Carol Ferris as Star Sapphire fights Atrocitus to find out which emotion is the strongest. And she does this whole lecture to Aya at the end of that. And I was like, boy, this is like, it's not word for word. He's not plagiarizing, but thematically, the tone and the meaning of the conversation was spot on. So I thought that was great because it moved her a step down her journey to being a superhero and her own journey of self-discovery because she she has to recognize that she has not always been fair to Hal in their relationship. And I think what's being done with the character really positions Hal and Carol to eventually become a power couple because I think at last she will understand the sacrifices that Hal's had to make, including the sacrifice of his time with her.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So I liked it for all of those things. And then at the end we get Nathan Broom, the Sorrow Lantern, talking to Luciphage, who is also known as Starbreaker. And
Or Darth Maul.
yeah, Starbreaker, for those that aren't familiar with the character, Starbreaker is essentially an energy vampire. He is an early form of a Sun Eater. And if you remember, the Sun Eater was he's a cosmic entity that nearly destroyed Earth during the final night back in 1996 when Parallax sacrificed himself to reignite the sun. We haven't seen Starbreaker since I think he appeared in a background character about 10 years ago in a Green Lantern Corps annual, which he wasn't really a major player. He was just one of those background characters. But Luciphage's daughter, we have seen. Do you remember during the Morrison run, Countess Bezlebeth?
Yeah.
That's that's Luciphage's daughter.
That's wow.
So that's really cool.
It's trip.
Uh, but the really cool thing about Starbreaker is yes, he is an energy vampire, but he doesn't just consume energy. He can live off of negative emotions. So combine that with the fractal lantern stuff, and it's interesting. I don't know whether Starbreaker is going to be a villain per se with Nathan Broom, or if Nathan Broom, being very naive, is essentially the Renfield to Starbreaker's Dracula at this
Well,
point.
yeah, or you can set it up like Black Hand was to Necron.
Sure, sure.
Same kind of setup.
He
You're
could be a
gonna have,
herald,
yeah.
essentially.
But
So,
I don't know. I hope they do something with this Nathan Broom guy. That I I hope. Let's put it this way. There's been enough like little kind of like small little teases with him that it's obvious that there's something that's going to play out with this character. So he's going to be around for some time.
mhm,
But I want to see him do more with what he's going to do. And he's going to
yeah,
interact with Hal at some point. It's probably not going to
right.
be a good interaction.
I'm hoping that again. I want to see Hal and Carol move on to something different than the same cycle. I like to see the cycle broken a little bit from what we've seen over the last umpteen gazillion years. I think if Carol d- goes down the road that I think she's going down and does some personal growth and some reflection, I think that dealing with Nathan Broom is going to help strengthen that overall relationship. So I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
And man, the art in this issue, whew,
good stuff.
yeah,
That
really
little
good stuff.
throne room at the end is really cool with Starbreaker.
Yeah. It was very Darth Maul like, though, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
he kind of looks like him a little bit sitting there. What do you think that symbol is over the top of that throne?
I don't know. I've been trying to figure it out myself because I've never seen it before.
Because you got one, two, three. There's six,
There's six.
and then one in the center. Is that
Right.
is that all? Is that all levels of the spectrum?
Well, the spectrum, emotional spectrum has seven colors in it.
Well, that's seven right there.
So that could be. I was looking for seven little circles on the outside being the emotions, with something else being in the center, representing maybe Starbreaker himself. I don't know. I'm interested in seeing what happens. I don't know exactly what that is. I want to know though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think and I think the only other unfortunate thing is we got Kelly Quintella back apparently. Um, but I I really felt like this was a season finale, and like I said, it resolved a number of things in my mind, and it set us up for what's coming next. So I thought it was a really good issue. I really enjoyed it. I loved seeing all the action. I mean, I don't think we've seen this much color since Blackest Night.
No, and there's a lot of splash, a lot of spread pages. Had a lot going on in it.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I really like this issue overall. And again, I understand the criticism about things not being resolved because not everything's resolved. And that's fine because we're talking about serialized fiction. Nothing should ever be completely resolved. We should never have a complete ending.
Well, I mean, you got to think of it from a writer's standpoint. It's like there's people that just get on, George R. R. Martin because he's not finishing this and not finishing that. It's like, have you people ever like try to write something like that? The magnitude of that writing. I mean, and you got to think about it from like Adam's perspective. If he's going to pick up on things and try to close every tiny loophole, you know, that's a side note or that's a note in your fields that you have to make sure that you touch base on and go back to. I mean, it's no wonder these things get often get skipped over or missed by accident just because there's so much going on.
Right.
That's a
Right.
lot of content writing. It ain't easy to write. I don't know how well I would do writing something like this. I couldn't imagine. I'd have to come up with a really, really good storyline and then fill it. But, and writing can't be easy for these guys, and some people are good at it and some people just aren't. It's the way it is.
Yeah, no, I really liked this issue. I thought
Mhm.
it was probably the strongest of the series so far.
Yeah, it was cool.
But all right. Well, hey, let's jump right over to the other book. The other book we're talking about is Green Lantern Green Arrow World's Finest Special, #1. And it was really kind of neat because it wasn't just Green Lantern Green Arrow, it was also Green Lantern and Flash. And
Mhm.
I talked about it in my written review. When you mention the Trinity, everybody always thinks of Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, but for me, it's always meant Green Lantern, Green Arrow, and the Flash. That's my Trinity.
Right.
So I really enjoyed the fact that we got all three of them in this book together. And it's Ollie's relationship with Hal and Barry's relationship with Al, and it's always been that. Well, which one is Hal's better friend? Is it Ollie or Barry? I'd be hard pressed to pick which one. I think it depends on the situation.
Well, the comical nature of their relationship going on the past until present is that where they fit in a collective whole. So if you got, if you think about you got Wonder Woman standing there, or Batman's around, or Superman's around, right? You got Barry. He's usually just like the comical guy, so he stays kind of neutral. But then you got Allie, who doesn't really like Batman at all, and Hal doesn't really like Batman at all. So they kind of support each other in that kind of role. This brought out the best in what I've seen by friendships. You know what I mean? This is the kind of stuff that's, like how to me how it's written throughout the whole thing. I mean, he's spot on how. I mean, and even the responsive nature of Ollie and even the responsive nature of Barry in those moments, I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, I'm like, yeah, man, this just makes sense. This just seems like a Hal Jordan character. This seems like something that would go on if these two got together,
Yeah, I mean,
you
the
know?
idea of Hal and Ollie traveling across Route 66 in a convertible just fits. And Adams, who also wrote this book, doesn't directly connect the story with Hard Traveling Heroes, but it gives you some of that vibe.
Hmm.
And it certainly isn't in today's timeline. And this is not in our timeline. This is set in the past. But um, I think Adams has a lighter touch when it talks about some social commentary, which there is a little bit in this issue. One of the things that I have kind of a love-hate relationship with the O'Neill Adams run. I, I felt like it was just so heavy-handed, but for the time period, it kind of needed to be. But I felt like it pushed Ollie and Hal in two like far right, far left directions for the time period. And that wasn't necessarily true of those characters, but those books grafted themselves onto those characters. And so everybody thinks of Hal as the out of touch guy who follows authority, and Ollie is the other, the far left guy who's almost anarchistic in some ways. And I don't know if that's necessarily true for either character,
I don't think so.
but
Yeah.
it's stuck with those characters and people still see them that way. And I felt like what I liked here is that Adams had uh not Neil Adams, Jeremy Adams, had a lighter touch when it came to that here. There's some commentary about the police and the abuse of power, but it's played very light and plays into almost a humorous situation with how like, well, I'm a cop too, he's not gonna give me a
Right.
ticket because he's gonna recognize I'm a cop, kind of thing. And then that cop turns out to be Deathstroke in disguise. But there's some real good humor here, and I can totally see Hal being the guy on a road trip who wants to stop at every roadside attraction once he finally allows himself to relax. Because if you're a Green Lantern and you're always dealing with cosmic threats and all this serious stuff, I would want to see the biggest ball of twine in Minnesota too.
Well, it's a decompression, you know. I mean, and
Right,
the dude never has a chance to see the sights at home. I
exactly.
mean, comparatively speaking, look at what he's seen out in space. Big ball of twine has a lot to do. It could be different from a supernova that he's passing on his way to Oa.
Right, right. And I love the idea of these two guys just driving around in a convertible, with the sunglasses on, enjoying America and experiencing it. So I thought that was great. And then we see Deathstroke showing up, and this is period correct attire for Deathstroke because this is before he's really become a thing yet, right? And
Right,
one of the really clever things about this book is it backdoor plants itself up against the story from 1980 where Slade is becoming part of the League of Assassins,
right.
which is something totally not anything to do with Green Lantern at all, but he uses this as part of it.
Kind of
Is
like
a
a
reason,
prequel.
yeah, is a reason why Deathstroke would target Green Lantern and Green Arrow. And this is also a Green Lantern who has the yellow weakness, so it's set back before the parallax thing.
Hmm.
It's interesting. There were a couple things that did stand out as odd, and this is the nitpickiness that I bring to it. But Hal's not wearing the right costume for that time period. Um, he's still got the no shoulder thing going on.
Now, imagine a conversation you might have with Adams when you bring up the points of what you brought up entirely now, but you tell him you got the outfit wrong. I wonder what his response would be to
I don't
that.
know. When we have him on the show next, I'll have to bring it up. Um, but yeah, he's wearing the point at the bottom like he has now. So he doesn't have the swim trunks like he had back then, and he still has the shoulders uncovered. And it's an art thing, right? This isn't the regular artist on the book. This is Lucas Meyer is the artist, and it looks good. It looks fine. I mean, I'm not criticizing it, but it's not period appropriate.
Right.
Because Ollie's outfit is period appropriate, and so is Deathstroke's, but Hal's is not. Um, it's a little thing in the grand scheme of things. It's such a little thing. Uh,
They should we should have like a special segment, you know, Myron's nitpick corner. You know,
hey,
and then what you should do is like devise a way where you can put yourself in a corner while you're reading the
I'll
nitpick.
read the book. I mean, on the plus side, his boots are green through the entire book,
Right.
and whenever you see his right hand, the ring is there. So he's got those parts down, right?
Yeah, the brownie points for you for that one.
So he gets good grades for that one. It's just the costume isn't correct, but did he maybe it was an intentional choice. I don't know. What I did find funny was that when you get to the Flash story, the costume changes again. But anyway, different artist, but somebody's not connecting the dots there. I blame the editor. Oh. But Barry, Ollie and Hal get a little bit of a beaten up from Slade. Used the yellow bullets, which I thought was kind of cool. Um, Ollie goes after Deathstroke mano a mano. I loved the little. Did you catch the joke about Absolute Demon?
Mm-mm. Where's that on?
So it's the page where Ollie has taken Hal to the roadside convenience store slash truck stop, and there's a guy reading a comic, and it's the Absolute Demon, and it's a complete
Oh.
riff on Absolute Batman. The cover is absolute riff, which I thought was great. So Hal passes out because of the blood loss, And when we next see Hal, there's Dinah Lance, which I thought, wow, that's such a neat. I mean, to me, this screams the 1980s.
Especially
Uh,
that guy, that outfit.
that outfit.
Like Jim and the holograms, right?
Right, right, exactly. She's got
Look
the
that up,
fishnets
people.
on. She's got the fishnets on, and it's a very 80s outfit. Uh, and Hal, of course, realize when he finds out that Ollie's out there doing it on his own, he's like, "Oh, he can't do that. He can't do it on his own." So it's a great case of earlier Ollie saves Hal, and Hal puts on his power ring and goes out, and he saves Ollie,
Hmm.
which is so typical of their team ups, especially during that era where they would save each other. So thought it was cool. Love the overall story. Slade doesn't get inducted into the League of Assassins as a result of failing to kill Hal and Ollie, but he gets sent on another mission, which dovetails us into the next story. But the other thing, like this stuff, like this dripped nostalgia, right? The boxing glove arrow, straight out of the Adams O'Neill run
Yeah.
era. Just overall, just it was a lot of fun, and there's nothing wrong with it being nothing more than that.
No, I had a great time reading. There's a lot of enjoyment out of it. And you got to think about how many comic books you read on as you're a casual fan or what like we are and stuff like that. And to read something like this I'm telling you, man, nostalgia always hits. You can't go wrong with nostalgia. I mean, people will eat that up and I think that's what DC's looking at they're doing. It seems like they're tapping into some of their nostalgic branding, and I think if you can go back and do that, I mean, having Challenger the Unknown back, all they
Sure.
need to do is bring back the Wonder Twins and now that Gunn's at the helm, there's a good chance we might see them at some point.
So I commented about the outfit being incorrect. Did you
Hmm.
catch the other little boo-boo?
Mm-mm.
So Hal wakes up and Dinah's there, and he says, "How long?" And she says, "A little over a day."
Okay.
So, period correct. Hal's ring would be out of a power charge right now.
Welcome to Myron's Nitpick Corner. Fair
But
point.
but again, does it matter in the grand scheme of things?
No.
No. Uh, if for somebody like myself who really takes some of this stuff probably too seriously, yeah, I pick up on it. It it's that little minor irritating voice in the back of my head.
But but to be fair, that's what people at editorial are supposed to do.
Right.
It's basically doing their job for
Like Paul Kaminsky. Come on, dude.
them. Maybe you should go apply. You you probably blow them all away. No, no, that's not right. No, 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 that's not right. You need to do this. No, no, that's not right. You need to do this. Who hired this guy?
If I were the editor of the book would probably never get published, right?
Issue delayed by 3 weeks.
That would happen. Honestly, it would happen. It would happen. I shouldn't say the backup. The other story, which is significantly shorter, is Hal and Barry, also written by Jeremy Adams. The artist on this half of the book, and not even half, but this section of the book is Travis Mercer. And this one goes pretty fast, but again, a lot of fun. I always love seeing Hal and Barry together. There's something about this team up which is so classic to me.
Mm.
Uh,
And it's not only
again,
that, it's a juxtaposition too with the red and the green, right?
yeah, maybe that's a part of it,
Hey,
because
there's your holiday spirit, man.
right there
See?
you go. It's the
There
Christmas
it is.
duo.
I knew Myron was there with the holiday spirit.
There you go. But again, yeah, this one doesn't last long at all. They catch Slade rather quickly. It's basically just a reason to have some banter between these two characters. I think,
It's a good dialogue between two friends that, for lack of a better words, with everything they got going on, they don't have moments of levity. So
right, right.
I
Well,
would imagine for these, I would imagine for people like Hal and people like Barry that get together and chasing somebody, I'd imagine there's going to be some kind of like a lethal weapon kind of thing going on, right? Where, you
yeah.
know, Murtaugh's the jokester and Riggs is going to be the serious one. And I get it. And that's what probably made this the most fun to read. You know, I wish there was more of it. Like I want
Right.
more of the Barry and
I,
Hal.
I would love to see. I mean, I know we have a Batman Superman World's Finest book. I would love to see a Green Lantern, Green Arrow, Flash, Brave and the Bold series.
Mm, that'd be
Uh,
fire.
I would eat that up completely. And as long as we had the great dialogue that's here, and yeah, this is a nostalgia look back at easier, I shouldn't say easier, lighter days. I love the whole thing where Barry asks Hal about the road trip, and Hal's like, "Well, don't be jealous." It's just it's great, and I just love the dynamic between these three characters. I don't know. It's
Excellent reading. It's a good time to be a Green Lantern fan because there's a lot of content going on.
yeah, I love the giant construct. Should I say it's a construct? Construct. But I'm bump. I just thought it was great. I don't know. There's a lot to be, nostalgia can be a bad thing, but when it's done in an enjoyable manner, it's just I have to say this a lot about the Adams run and Adams writing in general. It's just fun.
Mhm.
This is the kind of book, as a kid, I would eat up because it's these characters that obviously have great affection for each other, fighting bad guys, and it doesn't mean any more than just fighting a bad guy and bringing him in.
Well, there's a lot of relatable things to it too. You know, when you're a kid looking at this, you know, you might have a buddy of yours at school, you know, that is has similar traits to the people that you're reading about in this book. Oh man, my friend at school acts like that guy. You know, and there's your connection point, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's where you want. That's what you want, that trigger, you know, and that's what brings kids back to reading a lighthearted story like that.
And the nitpick here is he has the shoulders off, but now he's got the swim trunks.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. We were still on Myron's Nitpick Corner.
It's the entire episode, right? No, but it's just a lot of fun, and there's nothing wrong with a book just being a straightforward adventure that's in the spirit of having a good time.
Well, and it's also, I think it's also important to take notice of the fact that it's Adams writing Green Lantern again, right? Not only
Yeah,
that, he's also writing Flash because he wrote Barry.
yeah, yeah.
So, like at the same time, this is it's him visiting home with Barry and then him staying home with Green Lantern. And a lot of times when you read a Green Lantern story and a different characterization from a different writer, it can have like an offsetting experience, right? Because you're like, ah, it doesn't seem like it's something he would do, or this seems out of character for him. Well,
Right.
when you got Adams writing across the board, I mean, he's got the helm of these characters, you know, and that's good because that means that you're going to get the same type out of him. You're going to get the same kind of stuff that you expect that you'd read out of your characters being written by Adams.
You know what I just noticed?
It's another
The
nitpick.
the Flash's outfit isn't right either. But
Wait a minute. Why isn't his right? What's wrong with
if you
his?
remember during this time frame, the Flash has a
He
different
didn't have the
the lightning
lightning.
around the belt is
Yeah.
yeah. So
That's right. He had a regular yellow belt with a
yeah,
circle in the middle. Right.
it's okay though. It's all right.
You okay? You're gonna be all right.
I'll be
You
okay.
know, I bet you if you would have like decorated it and been more festive and asked, you know, Santa might have been nicer and brought you a Hal Jordan, that would have been.
I tell you what,
Chris.
I got it right here. Here we go. Here we go. I have a Christmas ornament hanging on my microphone. How's
Oh,
that?
there you go. I like that.
There, it's festive now.
And it's green. You're not going wrong.
That's right. That's right. Anyway, I enjoyed both of these books for different reasons, but for similar reasons in some ways too. So good month for Green Lantern books. That's for darn sure. So we have some listener feedback, but you know what I think I want to do? I want to save that for next year because I'd like to get this episode edited
Okay.
and out there for folks.
I like it.
So we'll hold off on it for now. Just because from an editing standpoint, it takes me a lot longer to edit the listener feedback than it does for the entire rest of the episode because I have to make a short video for each one of the listener feedbacks and there's a bunch of extra steps. So so let's skip it for now.
Okay.
And we'll save that for 2025.
I like it.
All right. So let's take a quick pause and we'll come back and we'll say goodbye to folks.
What up, dweebs? This is Guy Gardner. You're listening to the podcast of OA.
Ho, 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 fellow Owens. Oh, fellow Owens. Welcome back. Well, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. You know, we're a couple days out for whatever you decide to celebrate, but Santa's going to be here tomorrow night for me, anyway, I hope, or for Clark, more importantly. So I think I've been halfway decent this year, so, you know, I'll take it.
Santa's leaving me cold because of all my nitpicking.
He wasn't going to do anything for me because I riff on Batman all the time. Maybe I'll make it that a New Year's resolution that I'll leave Batman alone. That's not going to happen, people.
Have you made your Larfleece cookies yet?
I haven't. They're not going to happen this year, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Sadly
I'm
enough.
I'm in the same boat. I don't have enough time. I've got tomorrow's Christmas Eve, and I've got to go to my in-laws for a while in the afternoon. I've got to wrap presents yet, and I've got to decorate a tree yet. So
No,
cookie
you're way
baking
behind.
doesn't figure. Yeah, cookie baking doesn't figure into the equation at all.
You know, I will say this about the Larfleeze cookies. It's one of the very rare cookies that actually has orange and chocolate in it, which oddly enough, oranges were synonymous with the early days of
Mhm.
early Christmas. And it's one of the rare few. And
Yeah.
chocolate and orange goes really good together if you don't know that by now.
Yeah, it does. It does. All right. Well, friends,
Cool.
this is the end of our 2024 year. We want to take just a couple seconds to thank every listener and everybody who follows what we do, either you're listening or watching. We appreciate you folks. We appreciate you making us a part of your fan experience. We enjoy doing this. We're going to be around for a while yet. So I hope you stick with us into 2025. And I regardless of what holiday you celebrate, I wish you nothing but the best holiday season. And let's look forward to 2025 as a good year for ourselves and each other, but other Green Lantern fans as well. It's a hard life to live some of these days, and we have to rely on each other to support each other. So
We do.
be there for each other, be supportive, even when you disagree. All right, my friend. As for you, I hope you and your family have a wonderful holiday and a great Christmas. I know Clark's going to be a lot of fun. Is he 4 or 5 right now? He's 5,
He's 5.
right?
Yeah, he's going to be 5 next month. So he's put, I mean, yeah.
It's that fun age right now.
Man, it's a blast. And I just ride him. I just give him crap all the time. You know, he's like, Daddy, quit joking around with me. I know you're just playing around. Man, he's so much fun right now. It's a blast.
It's great.
Christmas mornings are going to be a hoot.
I miss those days. That's all I can say. I miss those days.
You know, and it doesn't matter what age you are, when you're doing it, it's fun. I mean, it makes the moment much more pleasurable. You know, and I'm 50 years old, so you feel me. You know, I mean, there's, you know, a lot of my friends my age, their kids have already moved on, and they're just celebrating the holidays alone. And here I am doing the process all over again.
All
at the
over
age of
again.
50.
There you go.
Whatever it is, what it is. So enjoy it for what I can.
All right. Well, my
Right.
best to you and your family, and
Thanks, buddy. You too.
love from this household to yours.
Absolutely. And we love you.
So until next time, treat each other well, take care of each other, keep that power ring charged, and make every day your brightest, merriest day. Take care. Thanks so much for watching this Green Lantern video from the blog of OA. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can find even more great Green Lantern videos, reviews, podcasts, and more at our main website, www.blogofoa.com. So until next time, keep your power ring charged and make every day your brightest day.